I'm happy to report that we made substantial progress between the United States and China in these very important trade talks.
Breaking news. It is now being reported that the U.S. has struck a trade deal with China following discussions with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Yes, it seems Scott Bessent has been the key to all of this. Now, the specifics of this trade deal is set to be announced on Monday.
We will be giving details tomorrow, but I can tell you that the talks were productive. I will turn it over to the ambassador.
Thank you, Secretary. And this was, as the Secretary pointed out, a very constructive 2 days. It's important to understand how quickly we were able to come to agreement, which reflects that perhaps the differences were not so large as maybe thought. That being said, there was a lot of groundwork that went into these 2 days. So we're confident that the deal we struck with our Chinese partners will help us to work toward resolving that national emergency.
I would just conclude with saying it was done in the spirit of cooperation, shared interest, mutual respect, and we look forward to sharing the details with you tomorrow morning.
Remember this, a deal will be made soon enough. The markets will lose their mind when it's announced because Bitcoin and Ethereum exploded on this news, Bitcoin reaching just 4% off of its all-time highs, Ethereum gaining nearly 40% in just a few days. Because at the same time, we continually see the Trump administration double down on their commitment to supporting Bitcoin and crypto in the US, JD Vance joining up as a featured speaker for Bitcoin Conference Vegas this year. Coming up, get your tickets below. Seems like a lot of big players see Bitcoin under $100,000 as a big opportunity, maybe even trying to front run when the US announces its Bitcoin Strategic Reserve Bill, buying more Bitcoin than it's already committed to. We'll see if that happens, but we're seeing a lot of entities betting that it will. Goldman Sachs doubling down with BlackRock, boosting its Bitcoin holdings to $1.4 billion. Dubai, Abu Dhabi, the UAE as a whole is buying Bitcoin, front-running the United States. Neoclassic Capital founder just revealed live on CNBC that the UAE and many other nations are buying Bitcoin. He goes over a lot of entities buying Bitcoin. Listen to this.
Specifically to Bitcoin, what's happening is where's the buying coming from? You have these publicly listed entities that are consistent buyers of Bitcoin. You have one of the most profitable companies in the world, Tether, that continues to use profits to buy Bitcoin. Tether is what the insurance business was for asset management. It's becoming one of the largest balance sheets out there. You have states, so New Hampshire, Arizona, potentially Oregon, who are now adopting digital asset holding frameworks that are going into law. You have sovereign states. I was in Dubai last week. The UAE, alongside many other nations, are buying Bitcoin as a reserve asset. So you have demand coming from there. And then where do you see supply consolidating?
Very similar to gold, I was going to say, where we see kind of this huge institutional and kind of central bank buying that's been a big part of the story. Does that keep going, though, or does that run out at some point? Digital and physical gold have worked quite well. So I think, the Swiss are doing well. Between the franc and gold, that's been a good trade for everybody and Bitcoin all around. So I think that trade should continue. I mean, it's all momentum oriented. So as long as there's more adoption, more establishment of these as reserves.
There's just not enough Bitcoin to go around.
The other side of it is the supply. So you're seeing investment banks like Cantor Fitzgerald, you're seeing Coinbase and others that are now running large-scale Bitcoin lending platforms. And so when Bitcoin becomes financeable, Bitcoin becomes a liquid asset you can hold. So basically, not liquid in terms of trading, but you post your Bitcoin as collateral and you can borrow dollars, then go out and buy more Bitcoin or buy other assets. That sinks supply. It creates a supply sink that didn't have that type of size previously. And so that alongside the stablecoin adoption is off the charts. So the banking system of crypto, the on-chain banking world, is coming together between stablecoins, on-chain treasuries, tokenized assets, on-chain finance. That is the foundation for our banking system. And so we already have dollars in banks in the traditional fiat world, and that allows us to go build applications, build stores. We now have that foundation in crypto, and we're on the cusp of the on-chain banking system.
So it seems clear that we're in phase 2 of the Bitcoin bull cycle, bull year. Ethereum really pumping. I think we're going to see that go to other large caps soon. Maybe AVAX, maybe Solana, maybe Cardano, maybe Algorand. And then at a certain point, we're going to see a full-blown alt season. Not every altcoin, of course. It's got to fit a good narrative. There's a few different things that have to go right, but at this point in the cycle, although Bitcoin will still kind of be going up, alts will be exploding because the people who got into Bitcoin, Ethereum, large caps early, they feel a wealth effect and they go, well, I'm not going to get as big of gains now that Bitcoin's 200K. With Bitcoin, I still believe in it, but I'll just take some of my gains and put it into lower caps. Meanwhile, new people coming into the space go, well, I'm too late. Bitcoin's already 200K. I should put my money into lower caps, and that's when things really start to fly. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and watch regularly. I released a top altcoin video for May just the other day. Let me know which coins on this list you like. Everybody seems to be building Ethereum layer 2s now, and as we went over in actually this video from the other day, any entity or company that builds an Ethereum layer 2 will eventually keep Ethereum as a reserve asset, including Visa, PayPal, Amazon, if they build that L2 on Ethereum, which Visa and PayPal are doing. So a big move is coming for Bitcoin. A short squeeze might be happening sometime this year, at least according to millionaire investor Jordi Visser, who studies the derivatives and options market. Because I don't know if you've been noticing, but a lot of financial products are being built for Bitcoin and crypto nowadays. Coinbase acquiring Deribit. This is an options trading exchange. Coinbase made the largest crypto acquisition ever with this move. Now you can trade Bitcoin and Ethereum futures 24/7 on Coinbase. A lot of stuff like this is happening. So this was really interesting to me. Basically what happened with nickel in 2022, this huge asymmetric move, he thinks this is going to happen with Bitcoin. Basically what happened with Bitcoin in 2017, this huge short squeeze that happened where it just kept going up. This expert, again, who studies markets like this, he's been doing it for 30 years, says he believes something, a huge asymmetrical short squeeze move is happening with Bitcoin. This clip is a few minutes long. I think it's well worth it. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. We put out one video every day, keeping you informed on everything crypto. Support us by liking the content and listen to this. I believe something like this is coming. He lays it out perfectly here.
This idea of like a commodity short squeeze, and I think people quite don't understand like very asymmetric, violent moves in assets and how they can come together. So what are you seeing here that's giving you the sense that this could be kind of setting up?
This is an important thing. As a derivative person my whole life, one of the more interesting conversations I had with someone who, I'll call him Dr. X,
okay,
highlighted to me the asymmetric pricing in Bitcoin calls versus puts. What I looked at was that, just for example, with 100,000 as the price for spot Bitcoin out to September, so we're talking 4 months, a $30,000 out of the money call was close to $5,000, while a put at 70,000 was close to $1,700. So in equity markets, you typically get this skew where the higher the prices, lower the vol. In this case, there's a variety of factors that fit in with the Bitcoin, which makes the Bitcoin option market unique. But what really scares me about this is that as an equity person, and you see that, you can buy spot Bitcoin and you can sell 30% out of the money calls and you can collect what's effectively higher than the Fed funds rate for just 4 and change months, which means on an annualized basis, whether it's the calls or the futures, they're trading at a really big premium to spot price, which means you're going to get a lot of people that are willing to kind of sell options on this. So one of my beliefs overall has been that Bitcoin is not a currency. It's not an equity. So when people call it a risk asset or they call it a currency, I'm like, it's not that. It's kind of a hybrid thing. It has a finite amount. And this is what's different with the fiat thing. This is what Michael Saylor talks about. This is what makes it interesting. So the upside can be asymmetric. You can get short squeezes. And I believe what we're going to see this year at some point is a period where someone gets caught short, primarily because of the options stuff and where these calls are priced, but also not recognizing how fast this thing can move to the upside, where the vol can be extremely, it can move very, very quickly. And the reason I think it is going to happen is because there's a lot of miners that seem to overwrite their calls. This is a production related thing. And it reminds me of what happened to nickel in 2022, where we had this massive spike in nickel. So it actually this year will probably look more like a commodity at some point, where people have to come in to cover the calls that they've shorted against it. So I think it's going to happen this year.
When people hear short squeeze, they think huge asymmetry, hundreds of % of upside. How significant or severe do you think that the upside movement in a short squeeze of Bitcoin, given its size now of a couple $1 trillion, like what does that look like?
So here's the issue on a short squeeze. Going on X and just reading how many people are involved in this market, and think of GameStop and all these situations. I think Bitcoin fits in with these kind of, it has this huge community following. And if people believe that someone is caught short, I think it can get extremely violent. Now, once it's done, you'll get a pullback, obviously. But at some point here, I think you're going to get a big move. Michael Saylor's done one thing to Bitcoin through the MicroStrategy convert market. He's brought a lot of short options out there in terms of people are now long a bunch. So there's gamma out there. So it's longer dated. All that means is we can get an asymmetric move and then it will come back. But I think we're going to see it because I think the community will feel the short squeeze. They'll be pressuring it and there'll be a story floating around. So I think at some point this year, Bitcoin will be a front page news story as to how it's gone higher on a short squeeze.